This is what's in for me for 2026 is being everywhere, but being extremely hard to get. So that applies to everyone. If you're a service provider, build your personal brand, make it huge, do your content, but don't take every client. Welcome back to I Have Notes. It is 2026. We have goals, we have things that we want to achieve, and I'm so excited to get into our second year of this series. Long may it continue. It's only right that we start the beginning of the year with some marketing ins and outs for the year ahead, right? Things we're going to be doing, things we're going to be dropping that create the space for us to position ourselves better, be seen as authorities, and also translate that creativity into some commercial value. Commercial value means getting the outcomes that you desire from the work that you're doing, which typically also focuses on revenue for brands. And then even for individuals, if you're a personal brand, if you're an influencer, I'm actually going to be talking a lot this year about how to better position yourself, how to build your personal brand, because for some reason in the work that I've been doing in my consultancy, we have low-key been really building that out, thinking about what's your personal perception? How do you build a public profile in this day and age, right? Because the internet has changed so much about the wider media industry that sometimes some of the old strategies, they just don't fit. I won't say they don't work, but sometimes they just don't fit for what we're trying to get done. So a couple of my marketing ins and outs for 2026, let's get into it. My first out for 2026 is trying to be mysterious when people don't know you yet. Now, this is a big one. If you have been watching a lot of the I Have Notes episodes, you'll know that this is something I've spoken about before, and I want to double down on it. One of the key things about mystery that people sometimes underestimate is that you have to have something known about you or something captivating about you to be mysterious in the first place, right? So, for example, there's certain music artists that people maybe don't know what they look like or didn't know what they looked like for ages, but people heard their music and that music was distributed by the record label in a traditional way, right? On the charts, music video, all that stuff. You just didn't see their face. That's what I mean by you have to have something captivating before you can be mysterious, right? Because, for example, I think about artists like Sia or Gorillaz, they all had great music that was charting. People loved the songs and people never saw their face. So you got that balance of mystery. I think sometimes when people are starting out online, I get it, we're shy. It's not easy to put yourself in front of a camera, and I completely empathize. But the only way that you're going to get better at that is through practice. And I don't think I need to say we should be open to failing and being unafraid to try in public, right? Just like going to the gym, it's only as you build up practice that you get better, you get more confident, your posture improves, you get stronger, etc., etc. So sometimes I think that whole line of like, I want to be mysterious is actually a cover for I don't feel comfortable doing this, which is fine, right? But let's call it what it is, so that then we can address it. So if being mysterious without people knowing who you are or knowing an aspect of who you are or having something captivating is what's out, then what's the in that balances that out? I think one of the things that has been in and will continue to be in for me is being everywhere, but being hard to get, right? Again, nuance. And again, I think if you're tuned into I Have Notes regularly, you'll know that what we talk about, there's very, very subtle nuances, but they make all the difference, right? Which is why it's important to tap into them. So what I would say in that respect is I think there's a big difference, and this is what's in for me for 2026, is being everywhere, but being extremely hard to get. So that applies to everyone. If you're a service provider, build your personal brand, make it huge, do your content, but don't take every client. If you're a business, launch, but have limited moments or windows where people can secure your items, but make sure that you're out there and everybody knows what's going on, but only a certain amount of people or only a certain level of loyalty will unlock certain rewards, right? And I think this is a place that everyone can study. And again, if you've been here for a while, you'll know that I give examples of different industries and different profiles and types of people. And I always say, never feel like that's irrelevant to you. So I'm going to give the example of the luxury bag industry. And you may be thinking, well, I sell digital products. How is that relevant to me? Part of the magic and part of the exercise is to look at loads of different unrelated outside principles or outside industries and then cross-pollinate them. Because when you cross them over, you end up doing things that nobody else is doing. And that's how you have a strategic advantage. In the case of the luxury bag market, everybody knows by this point, especially with the advent of the internet, what a Birkin looks like or a Mini Kelly looks like. Even in the same breath, I'm not even just talking about, new luxury. Even when I think about, I follow a lot of different brands that source vintage luxury from other countries, etc., etc. Even those, they are always, there's a brand that I love following. There's a creator on TikTok or her whole business is these different bags. And she talks a lot about the different bags that she's finding. She has a limited drop, I think, every Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And that level of it almost feels like a game is what gets our human psychology and our brains really working, right? So she leads on a level of gamification, but specifically more exclusivity and scarcity. I'm actually going to do an episode about some of the different psychological levers that you can pull. It's something I talk about extensively with my clients and also in marketing school, my course. And it's never failed. It's actually crazy how tools may change, but the underlying psychological levers stay the same because at the end of the day, you're selling to other human beings. So my next out for 2026 is to stop looking for easy answers. Marketing, after you develop your product, marketing is the next hardest thing to do. And some of that difficulty isn't actually because it's the most complicated thing in the world. Sometimes it's just the test of who is going to stick to it the most, right? So if you're looking for, I would almost say in 2026, looking for a viral single moment is a waste of your time. What you should be doing, instead of trying to find the next big thing, is you should be doubling down on 1, 2, 3 things that have some good momentum and stick to them, because momentum compounds. Virality spikes and may drop, but momentum compounds over time. And not only does it compound over time in terms of numbers and reach, consistency and momentum compounds in terms of the level of trust that people have, the level of understanding of what you're doing, rather than popping in and out. If you're consistent, people feel more bought in. And as I've said before, and as I've said in other episodes, so much of marketing is about people feeling and seeing something multiple times and feeling accustomed to it before they then make that move. When you look at your For You page, especially if you're someone like me who's on TikTok, there are so many different things you could do. So many voices, so much advice, not even just about marketing, but about your life, different ways that people are living. It can be very, very overwhelming, right? One of the most important things that allows people to kind of get ahead of everybody else is being able to have a bit of tunnel vision and stick to that and focus on that. So for example, let me talk about some of the trends that have happened recently, right? There are certain what people are calling Nepo piano songs that are trending in certain subsets of music, right? And all I have seen every single day on my For You page is the same song by the same artist. And that artist is doing the same thing in every video, just in different settings, right? And it seems crazy, but especially in something like music, where being able to recall and familiarity with the tune is vital to being able to grow streams and grow a fan page, that is working so well. Even outside of music, I'm sure I've spoken about it before, serialized content. This is my hill. This is my prayer point for 2026, right? That you find I'm going to give you homework. You find 2 topics or 2 ways of doing content that you are going to repeat and be consistent on. Even if you don't do anything else, if that's the only thing you do, trust me, take it to the bank. End of year, you'll see how much that has changed your personal profile, whether that has changed your business. Just find 1 or 2 formats. And when I say formats, I mean a way of communicating something. So it doesn't have to be a TV series. I think sometimes when people think serialized content, they think of something that's doing really well on TikTok right now, which is Roomies, which is great, but it's more like a sitcom. You don't even have to go to sitcom level. You just have to repeat the same thing that you're doing. Repetition is going to be your best friend. Again, back to this issue of compounding. My next out for 2026, and this is specifically for new brands, small business owners and founders. I get a lot of people approaching me and they're like, oh, in 4 weeks, I want to do this influencer dinner and my brand is going to launch the day after that. And I'm like, you've given yourself a 4-week timeline, especially as a new founder, to learn how to create content, to communicate to people, to even find time availability in people's diaries. you're going to stress yourself out. Like, you need to give yourself a long lead time. It's better to do things well, and not just do things well, but also give it time for people to marinate. Like, one of my pet peeves, actually, my clients will know this, one of my pet peeves is someone launching a brand and then thinking that they can invite all these influencers the day, like 3 weeks after the brand launches, especially if they don't have those relationships already. If you have those relationships already, that's another story. But I always say, think about it from their point of view. And so much of your brand, and when I say brand, is in your business, what you're selling, it's not about you. I've said this before. It's not about you. It's actually about them. It's one of the highest versions of commercial service, right? You're serving people. I had a brand consider, like, they were thinking about, they was kind of saying, we don't have any budget to gift people, so we're going to email them and tell them that they can rent the items and give them back. And they hadn't launched. And I said to them, okay, so what are you offering? Are you offering something really expensive that people can't get? Are you offering diamonds, for example? Because in the jewelry industry, people borrowing stuff for a short time is very, very common. Are you offering a rare item? Are you doing cars? Like, what is the thing? And it was like clothes priced at about £100 or $100. On their social pages, there was not really any content. They hadn't really established themselves as who they are. The items were also competing in a market where there's many other brands, right, making an £100 dress. Why should you reach out to someone that you've never spoken to before and give them a dress that they have to return, right? And that thinking, again, life is about learning. And I will always say to you, like I always say, like, we keep it real here, but it's a judgment-free zone. But I'll tell you what you need to know, right? Because this is not about what makes us feel good. This is about what works. Put yourself in the recipient's shoes. I've never heard of your brand, so therefore I don't have a history. I don't have a law. I don't have an existing story of maybe why I'm looking for you, right? So if Apple did that to me, I was thinking, okay, I have Apple products already. I know they're really expensive. They're letting me have, an exclusive try of like the most advanced new iPhone or like a new camera they've developed. Maybe I consider it, but I don't know you, right? And I always say, like, marketing is like going to a party and meeting people and building relationships. Imagine going to a party and someone's like, yeah, like, I'll give you this thing, but you have to do this thing for me. And you might be thinking, I don't know you. Like, why would I do that? And that's what basically happened in this scenario. You have to think about what is in it for this person, because they are the people that you're serving. You're not serving yourself. You're not serving your ideas and your dreams. You're serving these people's needs through what you're offering. So that is a strategy that you don't want to do. So instead, what's in for 2026 is giving yourself a long lead time. You may have seen on my Instagram that I posted some of the beginning teasers of the Avengers film that's coming out in December 2026. It is January 2026, and the Avengers, a Marvel franchise that has made billions of dollars, is promoting from now. And actually, this was not their first promotion. They also did a promotion at one of the comic conventions like 3 or 6 months ago when they kind of revealed some of the new characters. If that kind of organization and media company is having to do their promo or is thinking it's worth it to do their promo so early, why are you running within 3 weeks? Into even 2 months, especially if you're starting from scratch, like I don't have any content, you don't have anything. Give yourself a long lead time. It's better to build a foundation. This is actually something I've been saying to friends this year, is that when you build a house, there's a lot of time spent building the foundation, right? So you go to a site, it just looks like rubble because people are digging deep. And then suddenly the house goes up and it's quicker than the time spent on the foundation. Sometimes we get distracted by the building of the house as a visual and it looks like the thing that we're trying to get to. No, if you don't have a foundation, you don't have a house, the whole thing's going to come crashing down. So understand that when you even think about how you approach marketing, there's going to be a lot of stuff that maybe feels a bit more like run of the mill or not as like sexy and front facing, like repetitive or a bit more mundane. That's your foundation. And it's a great way to have a house that stands the test of time. And that foundation principle is connected to my final out and my final in. My out of 2026 is prioritizing social media over everything. Your social media is not your business. And this is like probably the thing that I say the most to all my clients. There are so many times where I see people activate or do things on their social channels and they're like, okay, great, I got all these followers. Where's my money? We've spoken about this before. followers, where's my money? Did you get their contact details? Are you talking to your followers offline? Because we all know how tough algorithms are. We know that engagement on Instagram for everybody is down. In the old days, 10% engagement on Instagram, which basically means if you have 20,000 followers, you should be getting at least 2,000 likes and comments altogether, right? That doesn't exist anymore. 2 to 5% is what most people are getting right now. Imagine owning a store and having all these people come in and you're showing them the items, but you never make a sale at the till because you're too busy showing them how good the items look on the display, but you're not telling them anything about what the items will do for them. You're not following up with any of those clients. You're not giving any kind of further information or asking them, actually, this looks so good. Why don't you try it on? Why don't you check it out? If you check it out today, I will give you another thing for 50% off or whatever the offer is. Again, because social media is the thing that most people see, people forget that the unseen selling system, which is what I call it and what I explain in depth in marketing school, is the unseen selling system of your emails, your texts, the events that you have, the private events that you have, the intel that you build from speaking to people directly is going to pay off further in the long run. Social media is great because it accelerates. Don't get it twisted. Like, I'm not saying we should not focus on it, but the two things need to be together, right? You can't have a house if you only have the foundation, right? Because where's the roof over your head? Where are the rooms? How will you live? But then you also can't have a house with no foundation because then you're in the house and if anything happens, the roof comes crashing down and it's built on nothing. So the two things are intrinsically linked. And if someone is talking to you about maybe some of the more technical side of things, talking to you about numbers or things that you haven't visually seen, and they're like, you should send an email, send the email, talk to people, pick up the phone. I think that's something people underestimate a lot. Pick up the phone to your clients, talk to them, spend time. Your clients and your customers, spend time with them. That's where you're going to get the biggest return for some of what you're doing. What about you? What are your marketing ins and outs? What are your predictions for 2026? I probably have a few more up my sleeve, so maybe I'll bring some of those to one of our future episodes. But welcome back. I think this year is going to be very, very good. I hope so. You've got to start the year with a little bit of enthusiasm and positivity because there is a lot to do. And I think a lot of opportunity lies ahead. Thank you for being here as always. Please don't forget to subscribe. That is like one of the biggest things and most important things for me on YouTube as we grow. As I mentioned, as this platform grows, you'll get more episodes from me. So please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to help me understand more about what you need, what you're looking for, and how this YouTube channel can continue to help you.